Welcome back to Stereotherapy. If it's your first time here, I'm your host, Lisa, and I have my wonderful co host, Justine, with me as always. We are a podcast that showcases the importance of music and mental health. Remember, if you are liking what you are hearing, to like, share, and subscribe to our podcast. It would really mean a lot to us. And if you would also like to, remember, you can give us that star rating. No pressure for that 5-star one over here. But again, it would really mean a lot to us. And we will take even that 1 star. It doesn't matter. We've had so many great episodes and guests. So don't forget to head over to our website at www.stereotherapypod.com and check out our blogs, our playlist, and what we have going on over there. And Justine, how's it going for you today?
Hey, I've been, on the sluggish struggle bus
Yeah.
this morning. And I feel like I've been hoarse off and on today, so bear with me today in this podcast if I sound a little funny.
I mean, yeah, right before we recorded, I said the same thing. I'm in the same boat as you where I'm like, oh, but it'll be a good thing and good to record, but at the same time, it's gloomy and cloudy here. So definitely on that struggle bus too, for sure. But today we get to talk about uh the amazing women in music that have helped shaped us. And if you've been wondering the lack of women on some episodes, this is kind of why. And I just, we both thought putting them in an episode would be really, really great to have. So we purposely didn't include any, I mean, we did at times, but not as many as we probably would because we wanted to save them for this one. So we're going to dive in and I'm just going to go ahead and let Justine go first with this and see what is a female artist that has helped shaped you and your life and made an impact.
So the first person I'm gonna talk about is Alanis Morissette.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So I can't remember the exact first time that I had heard her, but I have a very specific memory of being at a friend's house and the dad had Jagged Little Pill on, and the mom came and yelled at him to turn it off when the kids are around. So, um, that is probably the most specific memory I can think of, early on dealing with Alanis Morissette. Um, and if you're not aware out there that the song "You Oughta Know" is about the breakup of her and Dave Coulier, which, yes, that's the guy who plays Uncle Joey on Full House. Um, I feel like it's very important to, include that because I think, especially with a lot of us that started hearing that, a while ago, thought it was a joke, but it's
Yeah.
not. That
Oh,
100%
I thought it
is who
was.
it's about. Yes, it's like one of those things that people thought it was a joke. No, 100% that is who that song is about. So in that relationship, she was 18 and he was 33.
Whoa.
Yeah, I think that big of an age range, especially now with everybody really sharing about these kinds of age gaps in relationship, I think can be very relatable for girls out there, especially currently, or just even anybody who had that kind of relationship when they were younger. Because let's face it, unfortunately, that is the truth for a lot of women is that you date much older men at least one time sometimes
Hmm.
in your life because of some kind of dynamic that sometimes is inappropriate. Um, and so I find that incredibly interesting for anybody out there who has been, you know, talking more about that kind of thing. But also, I also saw that because when I was honestly getting this ready to write, I was like, okay, I need to make sure I say his name correctly
Oh my God. I
because
would,
it's spelled completely different. But
when,
also just I just want and I wanted to make sure I had the age range correct as well because I knew it was a huge age gap, but I didn't know exactly what the ages were. Um, so when I was looking it up, apparently, after everything came out, he shared quite a bit about what it was like hearing the song and finding out it was about him and whatnot. Um, at first he was like, "Oh, that can't be about me," which is like pretty typical of like a male response, I feel, when it comes to something like that. Like, that's not about me.
Oh yeah,
And
anything
then,
negative.
right? Like, no, no, that's not about me. And then I guess he sat with it for a bit and then he was just like, oh my God. Like, he's like, I really hurt this person.
Mhm.
Um, which unfortunately does not happen a lot. I appreciate the fact that he realized that. You know what I mean? Um, and apparently they got in touch with each other and like talked about it and are on completely fine terms apparently. And she was really nice to him about it and everything. Um, give it I can't remember what age everything happened when, the talk about it happened. I don't know if it was like way later, you know what I mean? Like she could have been much older and been like, I don't care anymore, man. Like I've moved on, you know what I mean? And have healed or whatnot. But like,
Right. But at that point, it's like, what?
yeah,
Okay, whatever, dude.
you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
still is like I appreciate that he realized maybe that he had done some harm, but at the same time, it's still a little icky. That age range, like she was 18, like it's weird to me to think of a 30-year-old man thinking that it is okay to date a fresh 18-year-old. You know what I mean? It's like that's weird. Like the age ranges, like that's you know what I mean? It kind of gives you the ick.
Oh,
But
it
like,
does. And I think for me, it's like I think about the age we are, right? Would I even
yeah.
dare like look at an 18-year-old and be like,
Oh, no.
never, it would never
You're
cross my
like, "You
mind.
know what? I think I wanna date you." Like,
Yeah.
no, I see children. I don't
Right.
see anybody in that age range or that age gap for me to be like, "I think I want to date that person."
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely not.
No,
Like,
yeah, no.
like, worlds of difference. And so, like, I still feel like even if it's been healed and there has been, like, no blame put on anybody at this point. Like there still was some kind of an age dynamic that was not appropriate there.
Mm-hmm.
But feel like the album as a whole is just so powerful for girls, and it definitely was for me. Just for multiple things, not just for like a hard breakup, but like just for like happy, you know what I mean? Like more of uplifting songs,
Yeah.
like are on there. Like that album goes on a complete range of emotions. And I think that's another reason why it just felt so amazing is that like, especially being a girl, like we go through a lot of feelings. We go through rage, we go through you know what I mean? Anger and like happiness and just complete bliss. And I feel like all of that is in one album, and that's this album. And it definitely shaped me. And I will always just absolutely adore this woman and everything she does. And if you've ever seen the movie Dogma
Yep.
by Kevin Smith, there is a very good reason why he made Alanis Morissette be God. Okay. So
Yep.
but yep, that's my first one.
She's so great. And I credit my mom because my mom was someone like when that out record came out, that's what was really played. And I'll never forget, like, You Ought to Know. And like, honestly, I was young to understand, like, going down in a theater and like stuff. Like, for
Yeah.
me, I was like, what? And then as I got older and each breakup or each whatever, and it
Yes.
really got, but I think, like you said, even not even just breakup, like, I just love, oh, I'm gonna mess up the title of it, but it's,
No, you're okay. Which one?
uh, is it Head Over Feet?
Yes, that is like probably one of my ultimate
Yeah,
favorite ones.
I still love that
Oh,
one,
it's so good.
or I mean, I can just name, like, them all, and I think I love her. I always loved her voice, and,
Yes.
um, she was just, the Canadian queen forever.
Yes. Oh my
And,
god. And just stunning, and like
mhm,
her long curly dark hair was
yes.
just like just image wise was just like, oh my God. And then
Mm-hmm.
has this powerful, different voice. Like, oh my gosh, it's just amazing. But like you said, like I literally didn't pick up on
Yeah.
any of what the
Oh, yeah.
meaning was when I was younger. And it's
No.
which is pretty, I feel, normal and spot on for
Yeah.
us 90s kids of like these really deep, meaningful songs. We're just like, yeah, this song's
Oh,
awesome.
well, I mean, and that kind of
It's just
goes that it's wild for us to go back and think about.
yeah. And it's funny because that's why I think I get in so many spurts with songs that's like I've always loved, but then as you're older, you go back on it because it changes meaning. And this is one of those things where it's like you just thought it was a fun song. And then as you get older, you're just like, oh my God, I know what she's talking about. You know what I mean? And it hits different. So it's another one of those things where it's like you loved it, you always loved it, but then you go back to it and you're just like, oh, this I love it for a completely different reason
Uh,
now.
oh, absolutely. And like, it's funny because Alanis kind of is related. I mean, when we talk about tones and music, that like, whether it's no business understanding or whatever, it
Yes.
was like mine for sure. Like, I know on the previous podcast, I definitely touched on it, but I just feel like I would do such an injustice to my own self and musical world if I did not talk about and bring up Fiona Apple. Because
Yes.
Fiona Apple is just everything too. And she's just one of those artists that, again, at a very young age, and I still remember I first found her obviously through MTV and the music video for Criminal.
Oh, of
And
course.
again, listening to that song, it's like, yeah, okay, like there's no reason, but I just loved her voice and I loved her. But I think what really drew me into her as a person and musically was she was standing up and she won an award. Maybe it was Criminal, maybe it was just her album title, whatever it was. And she was up there accepting the award and she had this huge speech. Um, I think she threw like Maya Angelou in there. And then I think she threw other things about like not conforming into the music industry and like how
Yeah.
bullshit the lifestyle is. And just to think back on that, I'm like, I think that's when I was like, oh my God, I like her. Like seeing
Yeah.
this woman be at the top of her game amongst the greats in that room, even pre-show, not giving a shit about any of the questions the VJs were asking her, fame-wise, anything about a record. It was just like, I'm here. And I know people just want to point, like out and gravitate towards Criminal. And I get it. I'm
Yeah.
one of those, no matter when it's on, I love it. But I and an iconic bathtub scene with Criminal and even Family Guy did like a parody of it. And that's the only reason G knows what that is. Like he doesn't
Oh
know
my
Fiona
gosh,
Apple.
that's
He doesn't know, but he's
hilarious.
like, oh, okay. And but like her songs like Shadow Boxer, Sleep to
Yes.
Dream, Paper
Yes.
Bag,
Paper
Station
Bag is
Cat.
probably my favorite.
Yeah, same here. And it's like to like even her latest effort, Fetch the Bolt Cutters, which came out, maybe it was like pandemic. I want to say it was 2020
I
because I
want to say that was pandemic time. I
because
think
I,
so.
because I was home and it was so unexpected, I think too.
Yeah.
But like honestly, it just picked up right where we left off with her and showed that Fiona, at least to me, has always been her true self through everything. And hearing the like her song Under the Table and the lines about, you can kick me under the table all you want, but I won't shut up. And how she didn't want to go to that dinner party. And I think just as women, we can all relate to that. Like maybe being with our spouse or even our friend group and being, oh, I got to go to this dinner or this party I don't want to go to. And being able to kind of like scope out anyone phony around us and having to be a certain way and basically saying, you know what, I'm going to be my authentic self in any setting. And I think in my 30s now, it's like I appreciate that message and that she's still sending all that message all these years later. And if you haven't heard this latest record by Fiona, go listen to it because it's so, so good. And I loved it right away. I was like, oh, this is who I've grown up with. And I also love that like she's always been honest about the industry heads and the men in the industry. And I will always be a Fiona Apple diehard, no matter what. And I just love that I've been able to grow up with her through music. And I know Fiona Apple isn't for everyone right now, But yeah, I mean, I just adore Fiona Apple and everything she's about and her honesty. And I like to think like that's where some of that grit in my life, doing this podcast as a female co-host is. And I want to say it's got to be from her in some way because I just always carry that. And I just love Fiona. Like everything about her. Like, what did you like Fiona at all, or do you still like her?
Oh yeah, I
Yeah.
absolutely adore this woman. Her voice is so different and it's just so beautiful and striking. And she actually has caused quite a stir in the autism community.
Yes, I wanted to ask you about that
So-
because I've seen it, but I
yes.
don't know if she
Okay, so
is officially.
we're gonna get into that a little bit.
Yeah,
So first of all, it's not okay to diagnose or assume that
right,
real people have anything, okay? And that's been quite up for debate for a lot of people in the community, especially. So people keep saying she's autistic and saying that she has said she's autistic.
right,
Um, she's she has never said that she's
right.
autistic.
I was like, I don't think she
Um,
has.
no, she has not. She's talked about working with autistic kids before,
Yeah,
which she says she absolutely loved and like she felt like drawn to the community, but she has never said that she is autistic herself. But um I would love for her to be a part of the community. Don't get me wrong. It would be great to add her to the list of like amazing people, you know what I mean, that are out there that are celebrities that have it. But she has never publicly said, and I don't think she's ever even like talked about suspecting it. However, we do know that she has OCD and CPTSD, which has a lot of similar, you know, symptoms and traits as autism. So regardless, she's still neurodivergent.
mm-hmm.
So she is in our umbrella, okay? But she's never been openly stated that she has autism. So I felt like that was very important to talk about.
Yes,
Like,
because I was gonna
yeah,
ask you that because I remember
yes,
when we were doing this podcast the first time around and in the 90s, we talked about Fiona and I talked about her.
yeah,
And I remember my former co-host sent me something too on TikTok that I saw too. And I remember being like, I don't know if it's true, but if it is, that's
yeah,
amazing. But if it's not, like we got to be careful with that. But at the same time,
yes.
it was like, I get why some people think that, but I was just like,
Yeah.
we got to
It's like
calm down a little bit.
I know, it's one of those things, like, yeah, I could see it, but at the same
Mhm.
time, like, she has other things that tend to have a lot of crossover. So, what a lot of people are trying to say is definitely autistic traits. I think what they're seeing is her CPTSD and her OCD. She has anxiety, she has depression, and
Right.
I think seeing all those which have a lot of, crossover with
Yeah.
autism, I think can be confusing for some people, but it's also like that's why we're not doctors. We can't just
It,
go and say, "Hey, you're autistic." We can say like, "Hey, have you ever looked into autism?" Or you know what I mean, but you can't assume and automatically label somebody as autistic. As
oh,
much as like, the whole parasocial thing is where you feel like you know somebody enough through the camera lens, we cannot label her that until she tells us herself. So, but I would love for her to be.
yeah. And yeah, no, 100%. Like I agree with you. That's why I'm so glad you're with me in that because I was always curious. I was like, oh, so now everybody kind of knows we gotta
Yeah.
wait for Fiona, and maybe one
Yeah,
day, maybe
we
say,
gotta
hey
have her
guys.
come and tell us and be like, "I knew I loved you guys for a reason. Guess what? I'm one of you." Like
Yeah, right.
yeah.
Anytime Fiona Apple, anytime. 100% you want to come on. The
Yeah,
pipe dream
exactly.
out there. But I gotta say, like, so far, obviously we had Alanis, we had Fiona.
Yes.
Who is your next one you're gonna talk about?
So, next I'm gonna talk about Regina Spektor.
Ooh,
Yes.
yes.
She's always been such a constant, important voice in my life.
Mm-hmm.
She's so talented. There's just something about a powerful woman's voice with a piano that
Yeah.
just always hooks me in, and I can't back down. And I don't know if it's because that's always been my instrument of choice when I played an instrument, and I love to sing, and then it's like, "Oh, okay, maybe I'm living vicariously and, like, maladaptive dreaming, through them." But there's something about a very strong woman vocal with piano that I just always am obsessed with, okay?
Hmm.
My favorite song is Your Honor, which I feel is a very great feisty, like, feminist anthem. Um, I managed to get to see her, like, years ago. I was trying to think of what year it was that was that I got to go see her. I cannot remember, like, maybe, like, 2010-ish? I do remember it was, right after a procedure I had done on my veins, and so I had brought a my friend who's a nurse brought me a wheelchair so that, like, if there wasn't any seating, I was gonna be good to go because I had to see her, and so there's pictures of me somewhere of me just hanging out in a wheelchair
I love
going to
that.
see. And, like, now all these years later, it's like I've talked about it with Lisa. I'm like, "I need to get a mobility aid so that when I go to shows, like, I'm gonna be okay because a lot of shows anymore don't have any seating." And so that must have just been the early precursor of my friend being like, "You're gonna go. You're gonna be
Yeah.
fine. Here's a wheelchair. Let's go." And I got to see her, like, pretty
Oh,
close, and she was amazing. She's so good live. I definitely recommend to anybody, if you're able to go see her, to go because you're gonna love it. And, she just radiates positivity to me, like, and just strong womanhood. Like, I love her, I adore her. I think she's the cutest thing ever.
hmm.
Um Yeah, I can't talk enough about how great she is.
Oh, like she's one of those I sadly have not. I think I had because the years you're talking about, I remember that's when I was really into like the indie artists like her. Dare I call her an
Yeah,
indie? I mean, I guess yeah,
indie-ish, yeah.
but like her, like Grizzly Bear. I was into all this stuff that like I think I had a chance to see Regina Spektor back in Chicago. There was some show, and I don't know if like tickets, whatever the reason was, and I'm kicking myself because during that era, those bands like I'm thinking of and her, like I just think like you are describing that, like I'm
Yeah,
sure that would have been such an incredible experience and somebody that I would have been like, all right, top 10 show for sure. And I love her too. And like you said, like the positivity, like whenever I listened to her,
yeah.
no matter what it was, I just felt like warm and like bubbly inside. Like I just
Yes.
felt so
You
great.
feel good with her music,
Like,
like, and she'll hit some, like, heavy subjects, and you
yeah,
still are just like, "Yeah, queen, let's go."
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Like it's almost like I in a movie or something, I want to like have her
yeah.
on and like be baking French pastries or something like weird like
Right? Oh,
that. Like
100%.
she's that artist. And I think, oh, that's one I wish I would have. I mean, I don't know what her touring is like now, but I mean, I would love to see her. And it makes sense for you because you love the Dresden
Yeah,
Dolls and like hearing
right?
you
It's like
talk about these.
it's pretty on brand for me.
Oh, oh, for
Like I
sure.
said, strong lady with a piano,
Yep.
sold, like,
Oh,
every time.
and I have to tell people too, again, like I have no idea what Justine's gonna say. And I love that
Yeah.
because it's like, oh, even when I was looking at some of these and trying to like, oh, who am I missing? And like, what am I doing? And I I don't want to be like, I totally forgot about her. And wow, I used to love like I love Regina Spektor. And now it's like
Yeah.
her and Feist and all those
Oh, Feist
uh,
was great
like
too.
I have to go back and like listen to some of these. And
Yeah.
obviously, Florence and the Machine. I was in that era
Oh,
of
yeah.
male women, but oh, could go on about those women. But it's my next one is very, very different than Regina Spektor. But she's one I feel like I know you love. I know other people
Yeah.
too. I have to go Shirley Manson. And again, I can't talk about women in music in my life without Shirley Manson. And I, again, really had to think and sit down who was in my life with their words, music, their presence. What did they do for me? And who am I going to talk about in this? And I just, Shirley, has to be there. And she's just one of those powerful women around in such a male dominated arena and just commanded every and any stage she was on. She would speak about those experiences and was this force of wanting to bring awareness to the lack of women in positions in the industry, whether it was a festival tour, even record deals. And I know like we can look at some of those powerful pop stars and say, well, yeah, like, maybe that's not true. There were a lot of pop stars at that in the 90s and 2000s, but I mean, we see it all the time. And I love Riot Fest. I'm not a Riot Fest hater. So everybody, I can hear this, but there is no secret to anyone that I love it. However, when you look at those lineups and we see it is still such a male dominated
Yeah.
thing. Like, yes, there were some great female acts, or even like the When We Were Young Fest, or any of these fest Warp Tour back in the day. They only had like the girls' garage stage, and I think
Yeah.
when we look at that, and I hope that it will change, but it's still such a male dominated thing. And something about Garbage, they resonated with me because of Shirley being open about that. And I loved the record, just their self-titled, but version 2.0 just hit in a way that nothing else did for me around those times. And from Shirley's style, attitude, and vocals, everything just hit so much. For me being like that tomboy, rebellious self. And I feel that part is still with me today when I was younger. And from the self-titled and just later, I had to go back and get into that because version 2.0 was my introduction to Garbage and Shirley. And I mean, whether it's Only Happy When It Rains is still my go-to. And I still think of it anytime it's raining and it's a gloomy day. And I know people are like, okay, yeah, like that's so cliche, but it's so true. And I tie music to those seasons and weather. So it makes sense for me there. But whether again, like it's like I think I'm paranoid when I grew up. And if you watched Big Daddy, when I grew up is in that. Like that's how big they were at that time. And with Special, Medication. I could go on about these songs that were the soundtrack to my youth in so many ways. And Shirley, again, I just like to go back to that. And she was just this powerhouse. And I think any girl in the alt scene can truly get behind her. And again, if I could meet someone that had that huge impact, it would be her again, like any of these women or anyone we talk about. But I love how far she is in her career to this day. And she's still talking about these things and how we have to change in the music industry. And I love to see it. And her being that same voice that I fell in love with. And again, I think there's a common theme for me with music. And I gravitate towards these people that push the envelope and aren't afraid to do that in any ways. And I just have so much respect and admiration for her. And uh, how Shirley says spoke about in her own words. These are her own words in an interview I will post because I had to say this. But Shirley said, I will meet sexism, stand it in the face, and crush those testicles and hack them aside
Yeah.
and move forward with my life. And I just had to like, it's from Noisy, and I have to post it because it was such a good one. And I loved how she just put it like that. And what she would do to sexism. And I got gush about her all day and the impact. And I can't wait to see what the next generation, if we see a resurgence of Shirley Manson and Garbage. And I know they still tour to this day, but I just love Shirley Manson forever. But for you, like I know we talked about this. I know you love Shirley too.
Yes. Oh yeah. I've always just been in just complete awe over her. Like
Mhm.
she's so beautiful. Her looks, like that she comes up with, like outfit
Oh,
choices, like
yeah.
and makeup choices, just always were amazing and just absolutely like I was just captivated by it. Um and her music has always just been a constant comfort for me. Like you mentioned, like my favorites are When I Grow Up.
Mhm.
And like of course being a goth girl, Only Happen When It Rains makes sense. Okay.
Yeah,
Like
right?
come on. Like they're so good. And like for me the music video to Stupid Girl,
Oh,
like
yeah.
it lives in my brain rent free. Like something about that video just hit a chord with me, and is one of those music videos like you talked about with Nine Inch Nails and Closer. Like Stupid Girl was one of those for me for sure.
Mhm. Oh God, I am envisioning that. Like I remember
Right?
that video now. Now I'm
Yeah.
envisioning how that is, and oh, just so important. Like I just think about how big they were. And I mean, I know some people aren't a Joe Rogan fan or whatever, but she was on Joe Rogan a couple years ago. And again,
Yeah.
such a great conversation. I'll probably post that too. Like anytime she speaks, I just listen. Like I'm just like, okay, what are you talking about? Like
Yeah. Of
I
course. Yeah.
love her. And for you, who's gonna be oh wow, I guess we're at their last one. Who's gonna be
Yeah.
your last artist?
Okay. Well, last but not least, of course, I'm going to talk about Kathleen Hanna.
Oh my gosh. You know what's so funny? As I had her and I was like, no, in
you
my
knew,
mind,
you
I
knew.
know
You're like,
Justine. Like I this is what I knew. And it's so fitting. So like let's get into it. Let's get into her.
oh yeah. So this woman is why so many of us girls have a place at any alternative scene.
Hmm.
Okay. Bikini Kill paved the way for so many of us in the feminist punk scene. If you don't know anything about them, I highly suggest the very first thing you do is go watch the documentary The Punk Singer. Um, that documentary is like so amazing for you to realize how important this woman is and like what she's done for any female in the scene. Um, like this she has, if you've never heard Bikini Kill or anything about Kathleen Hanna, okay, this woman had, it's just my everything. Okay, she has a girly voice
Hmm.
but has this loud punk sound and like the most gritty lyrics that you want to expect out of somebody with that sweet of a girly voice. And literally, that's always what I wanted if I had a band. If I was going to have my own band, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted
Hmm.
to seem like this like sweet girly girl, but is not a sweet girly girl. And like it's just, oh, it's like the absolute epitome. If I could give you one band to describe me as a person, it would be Bikini Kill. If if you're like me and most women who are just sick of the patriarchy, and the gross demeaning things that get told to us all the time by guys,
Hmm.
um, and everything that they say to us, okay, do me a favor right now. Go listen to the song White Boy.
Yes.
I literally, it helps the rage whenever like I need to just get that outlet of what I'm seeing and hearing when it comes to guys and like just the absolute horrible things that we hear as women from guys. Like just listen to that song. Look at the lyrics. It definitely helps the rage, okay? Um and whenever I need to just like pump myself up, get myself going, feel good about myself, I listen to Rebel Girl. Like I
Hmm.
literally, that is one of my most like overly played songs because if I need to get in a good mood, I need to feel good about myself. That song does it for me. Um I put on to whenever anytime I'm just mad, I'm just absolutely pissed off. I put on Suck My Left One. And it's just like I can get all the anger out and then I'm fine. Um I'm so happy to see that they're back together and that they're touring. And I really hope that one day I can see them. I really do. I think that Kathleen just knows how much we need them together with everything that's been going on in the country. So I really hope that younger generations are going to find them. And that way they also get that comfort to all this rage, because that's what they do. That's how great this band is. It helps us to get our energy and our rage out against things that need to stop. And they will consistently be one of my all-time favorites. And I used to have a t-shirt that said Kathleen Hanna is my spirit animal. And sadly, I don't know what happened to that shirt. It's
Oh my
gone. I need
God.
a new one. I need a new one. And because it's 100% true. She is my spirit animal.
No, and I can definitely see that. And where like I love her too. And also like her other like Le Tigre. I was a big Le Tigre fan
Yes.
too. And it's like I get that. And also like her battle with Lyme disease, she's been very
Yes.
open about that. And it's like I think she to me, it totally makes sense for you. She's up there. I mean, I love her and
Yeah.
I love Bikini Kill, what they've done, the whole girls to the front. And I know, she's made other comments about that now, but it's like she's just such an important person. And I honestly like just looking at you, like if I was just scrolling your Instagram or you were on my For You page, I'd be like, yeah, like
Yeah.
definitely 100%.
Oh,
Like
100%.
I would see that, and not in a
Yeah.
bad way, but in a way of like, wow, like you can see how that impact, like,
Yeah.
oh, I just love her too. Like, and I think,
Oh, one more thing to
uh,
mention that I forgot to talk about is the fact that if it wasn't for her, the Beastie Boys
yes.
would still be very icky with women.
Uh-huh.
Because she married don't come after me, guys. I forget names all the
Oh
time.
God, hang on, because you know
I like,
what?
what is the name and why can I not think of his name?
Uh Adam and
Um
Rock Horowitz.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yes. So she got married to Adam, and if it wasn't for her, like they'd still be singing girl songs like girls. And because she talked to them about it and everything, that like what she has experienced, what she's gone through, they ended up becoming feminist and were very like helping out the women. And like if that doesn't show you like how important she is, I don't know what does.
Yeah, especially a band like the Beastie Boys, right? To
Exactly.
change it. And whether, okay, you could say, oh, well, she was dating and now, now they're married. And okay,
Yeah.
well, at the same time, they are humans and make that choice too. But maybe that just shows again, like her influence over her own husband and his band that is larger. I mean,
Yes.
still to this day, the Beastie Boys. I mean, come on. Like you hear,
Who doesn't? You gotta
no,
love the Beastie
come on.
Boys.
Yeah, exactly.
They're
Oh,
amazing.
they are. And it's like, come on. Like, I think, yeah, wow. Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Because she used to say how they would dance like the people for BC Boys, like when they were on stage, who'd like women in cages or something,
Yes.
like, right? Like, and I remember her like
Yeah.
talking about that. And it's like, yeah, that's how it was back in the day. Although you see that now too with a lot of male artists too. So
Yeah,
it's
but
not
like
really surprising.
yeah, sadly, yeah, you still see some
Yeah.
of that. But like
Oh,
I feel like that is so important to know that like she helped open up their eyes, because like
mm-hmm.
we need more women like that to be like, listen, okay, like there is more to this than what you're willing to see. Just because you don't understand because you're male and you have not had to deal with this backlash that we do doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Okay, you know what I mean? And that goes on to not only be like a feminist thing, but for Black Lives Matter. Like
Mm-hmm.
people need to get out of that privileged brain and realize just because you don't deal with it yourself doesn't mean it does not exist. And for her to be able to do that with another just very like a band that everybody knows,
Mm-hmm.
I think people obviously more than likely know Beastie Boys more than they know Bikini Kill. But the fact is, like, if she didn't like have that conversation with them, and let's face it, you could have that conversation with your boyfriend and he does not change. Okay.
Oh, yeah, I dated some guys like that.
Right?
Absolutely.
Oh, 100%. So it's like the fact that he did,
Yeah.
like, that means like she knew how to break through that wall and got it through. You know what I mean? She knows how to get that message through, which is just absolutely amazing and should be just absolutely talked about. You know what I mean? Like that. I think that's super important to talk about. And oh, I love her. And she is so amazing. And I'm so glad she's like back in the scene. Not only is Bikini Kill back, but Le Tigre is also back touring.
Hmm.
So,
Yes.
like, oh, it's
Oh,
wonderful.
it is. And like, oh no, she's another one. Like if she says anything, I listen, and just so much respect. And I think it's again paved the way for so many of us, even just to be ourselves, not even
Yeah.
like musically, like I mean, obviously musically they paved
Yeah.
the way, but like us, like I always just wanted to be like as cool as her. And like
Right?
I
I
hope
would do
one
anything to be that
day.
cool. Like you said it, you could tell that I'm like a
Y'all,
Bikini Kill stan, but like
absolutely.
literally, if I could do anything to be like that woman, like I don't think I
Hmm.
could ever touch it. But
Oh yeah.
it's just, oh my gosh, she's everything that I want to be able to be. Okay. I want to be able to talk about this. I want this to be a conversation. Like there is a lot that women deal with that people keep ignoring or keep bringing these issues and not fighting for them. You know what I mean? And
No.
we need more men on our side to understand
Yes.
that they're not going to go through what we go through and that it's important to fight for it, you know? And I think we have a ways to go, and I appreciate that she's back in this time because, like, we need more voices like her that are willing to, like, give a big fuck you to anybody who's doubting, and I definitely would say that she is, again, one of the pieces of the puzzle that makes me a strong feminist because if it wasn't for people like her being open and fighting for it and giving everybody the finger, then I wouldn't do it ever. You know what I mean? Like, so I'm definitely like the older I get, the more feministy that I get. And the reason why I'm okay to say fuck you to anybody who's being gross and then they're gonna backtrack because that's what they do a lot when you try to fight them on that for what they're saying. And the reason why I'm able to do that is because of Kathleen Hanna.
Oh, absolutely. Like, and you see that, like, we see this next generation of people, and it's interesting too, because this next person is kind of for me what Kathleen was for you. And it's like, I
Yes.
have to go with her. And again, I really thought about this and I thought, okay, I could have gone Lady Gaga, Karen O, obviously, Gwen Stefani, Brody, Lizzo, but I feel like we already discussed those a little bit. And I was like, you know
Yeah.
what? Let me just go way out of the box for some people maybe, but I wanted to add someone new to the mix that maybe some people haven't heard me talk about. Um, but I have to go with the queen of rock and roll. I've got to go with Joan Jett. Um, and I just love her so much. And I love that, again, like my mom was a big reason for that because growing up, my mom was huge into like Pat Benatar, Blondie, Joan Jett, Alanis. I mean, like all of these people my mom was so into. And I think growing up in a house with rock and roll all around me really shaped me in so many ways. And I can see that. And I can't wait to do that with my future little one. And like, here you go. Like,
Yes.
this is the stuff. And I mean, from obviously, I love rock and roll, Bad Reputation, Cherry Bomb, Crimson and Clover. Joan has just been that soundtrack to my life. And she truly helped open the doors for so many women in the music industry. And to me, she was that image of following her dreams and just owning that and just what she loved. And I think that always just stuck with me. And no matter how many no's I received when I put emails out for this podcast or like my old blog and zines, the struggles, hiccups along the way, I've just stuck with it and wanting to talk about music in this very male dominated world. And for me, Joan Jett was just someone that, again, was never afraid to put up the fight for injustices in the music industry. And still to this day, she's just remained that way in this force. And I think, when I see again that pattern that I've talked about, that, Joan would just write about things that seem taboo for women, such as these things they viewed as masculine topics that the men were talking about. And, people to this day, they say her presence has paved the way for Bikini Kill,
Yes.
L7,
Mhm.
Hole, even, all of these
Yes.
bands, like the grit that she has It's just I'm so lucky to say too, I've been able to see her, and for me, that was everything. It was at Riot Fest, and it was just such the highlight because a lot of people were seeing, like, the current bands, and here I am, I'm like, "No, I am seeing Joan Jett." And she is gonna command that stage, and I am just gonna be so happy, and she's walked out with this, like, her leather coat, her black pants, her
Yes.
just being so insanely cool. I mean, much like Kathleen, but, like, just cool and just coming, strumming, and that guitar, and you just knew, all right, what is she gonna open with? What is she gonna, what is she gonna sing? And she's just that, whether it was her look or just like how she would like take off her coat, it was just like that was just she's this way that and the respect of the men, but also just like, you know what? No, like, I'm the godmother of punk, and you're gonna listen to me, and just this overall queen in my eyes, and she's just someone I admire so much, and I know, again, she's that way, I have that grit about me, and when a man wants to tell me no, or, "Oh, well, you can't cover this, or talk about this music-wise," and it's like, no, I'm gonna keep doing it, and I think, um and I love how in this world of men, whether it was in the music industry or just any kind of thing, Joan was always in that way, and she was always showing, like, I could be in this industry, and I can't wait to see who she passes the torch to, and for years to come, and I wish, again, I could be, like, a finger length of cool as her in my lifetime, but again, she's just her image, her just everything she's been through, and that she's still, again, like Shirley, like Kathleen, Fiona Apple, I'm sure. I know she's not really on, like, social media as much, but, like, any of these are, like, Alanis, Regina, all these women have somehow paved the way for us, and I think, ah, I love Joan Jett, and again, my highlight was seeing her in that black leather coat and just, oh my god, she's just the best. I love her so much. I do, and it's like for you, um what is your kinda take on Joan Jett? And, like, has she played a role at all for you?
Oh, I feel like she's every single young alt girl's introduction.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
I honestly think that she is the ultimate gateway for all of us, you know?
Mhm. Oh, yeah.
She's just so cool. She's so cool, and she's so talented, and I think I don't think I've ever met anybody who doesn't like her, and honestly,
True.
I don't want to know anyone who doesn't like her.
Yep.
Like you said, like, she is a vital role for all women in the industry. It doesn't matter what kind of music that you do or what kind of music that you necessarily listen to. Like, she's the reason why you are able to, really, for the most part. Um, and I think that is amazing, and like you said, like, how can you not look at somebody in head to toe black?
Mhm.
Like, that black leather jacket and not wanna be them, like, she's so fucking cool, and I think it's interesting because there's always been, like, a lot of debate about her sexuality, okay?
Yeah.
And, like, with what happened with, like, Sherry and the Runaways and everything, which did happen, and she doesn't lie about it or anything,
Right.
but she has never said what her sexuality is, like, at all. Um, and but she's heavily loved by LGBT, obviously. Why wouldn't any of us not love her? You know what I mean? But I kind of wish she would say, like, you know what I mean? Like, especially if she's um a lesbian or she is bisexual or anything like that, because I just the more we have people that are really strong in the industry that says, like, well, yeah, I'm not straight, I feel like that helps the community some a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But um it is her personal choice. She doesn't have to. It's totally up to her if she never lets us know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just kind of wish she would though. 'Cause
Mhm. Oh, shit.
I just really wish she would, And it's like I feel like that would only just like propel her even more personally. But That's my thought. You know what I mean?
Oh no, for sure. Like I think too, it's important to have those voices. I mean, what kind of strong, I mean, again, she's the same person that sang
Yeah.
the vocals with Nirvana when they got inducted in the Hall of Fame back in 2014, I think. And she was like, she, as much as we want to talk about, oh, she's cool or she's tough and she is all these things. She was saying it like she was scared shitless to perform with the members of Nirvana for this, like on vocals.
Yeah.
Like, and it just goes to show you could be this powerhouse and you can have this big voice. And so again, like I can't imagine like, and again, you're known as like this to everybody in the music world, right? But for all we know, she goes home and which is nothing wrong with this. Maybe
Yeah.
hangs out in her pajamas, eating cookies. You know what I mean? Like we're all like, oh, she's
Exactly.
such a badass, which I'm sure she is in real life. But like, I I just think that it'd be interesting in that. And so it would always be interesting to see her take on some of these events going on, you know, whether it's the social issues and see, because
Yeah.
that's something I don't see sometimes from her. And again, to each their own, but I
I know.
agree. Like I
Yeah.
would love for her to just come out and
I would love
whatever it
like
was, make a
yeah.
stand. So maybe she is, maybe she has. And like if anyone's listening to this and yeah, she has.
Yeah. If anybody
Maybe.
has like actual like proof, like
Right. Wrote that
let
too.
us
Right.
know because like
Yeah.
I hadn't seen anything directly because I even looked. I was like, "Isn't she bisexual?" And then I looked because, like, I know the Runaway story,
Right.
and but didn't want to call her bisexual, and she's lesbian. You know what I mean? So
Right.
when I looked it up, everything that I could tell is that she just doesn't want to give a label, which is fine, but I wish she would, especially if she's bisexual, because like we need more bisexual representation out there
Oh,
that you know what I mean? Because uh, there's a lot of hate for not just bisexuals but also pan. Like get a lot of we get a lot of heat, you know.
mm-hmm.
So I would love that for like someone like Joan Jett to come out and be like, yeah, no, I've been bisexual this whole time. So
Yeah.
why you know what I mean? And so it would be nice, but again, that's her life. She doesn't have to be out. I just I would love it if she
Mm.
was.
Oh, and again, like, what a cool badass woman. Like
Oh yeah.
all these women that we talk about. Like I said, like I see, like when I see Brody now, I'm like, wow, that's like Joan Jett's daughter. You know, like I could see
Yeah, no,
that, and it's like,
100%.
or even like Kathleen, like it's like that's Joan Jett. Like, and it's I would always be curious because, of course,
I
we won't.
honestly, in a weird world, she is their mother. So like,
Right, right. That is
you know,
true. But it's like
yeah,
I wish I could sit down with them or maybe I'll look. I tried to do some digging too, but like, is she an inspiration to them? I'm like, she has to be in my mind, but it's like
I would think so. I
to
honestly
see.
think she is like I think she is for most women. I don't think I've ever seen any woman in the industry that has said no, I don't like her. Like,
Oh,
you
and
know what I mean? Like,
yeah, like I even think like Miley Cyrus. She's one who
oh, I
I
could definitely see
oh,
that. Yeah.
I wish
Oh
Miley
yeah.
Cyrus, like while we're even talking about women, I wish Miley Cyrus would put out that rock album that she is meant to put out with those vocals. Like whether you guys like Miley Cyrus or not, and I
Oh
know
yeah.
some of you listening to this are like, listen to Miley Cyrus. She's saying, I can't think of what the song is, but she sang a song at the Taylor Hawkins um kind of like I don't want to say memorial concert, but it was like a tribute concert or whatever. And she sang a song that Taylor Hawkins was like, "Hey, you would kill this." I think it was
Yeah.
like
I,
Maybe it was a Def Leppard song. I don't know what it was, but
maybe
oh
I
my
could see
god,
that honestly.
she killed it. And honestly, I could see like Miley Cyrus being like, "Yeah, I love Joan Jett." Like I could just see
Oh, a
that.
hundred
Like,
percent. And it's like I love Miley as a person, but like I don't like a lot of pop stuff. Like I have my
Mhm.
solid choices for pop, okay? Like I'm not saying I hate pop. Like I love Lady Gaga, I love Lord, I love Billie. But like I think if she were to get in a rock, I'd probably really love it because she gives off a lot of a rock alternative, aesthetic.
Oh,
So
for
I
sure.
would love for her to do a rock album because I might actually like listen to that. You know what I mean?
Oh, look at this. I just looked it up and I was right. It was Def Leppard.
Okay, I was gonna say I could see that.
It was Def Leppard's Photograph. That's what it
Okay.
was. And I was like, oh, I know. And I guess in a voicemail he had said to her. And so I hope one day we get that. because
Yeah.
I
I
do.
would love to see that.
Oh my God, it's coming. I know one day where I'm gonna mark it, whatever date this is today, I'm gonna mark it. That is going to happen, and I'm here for it. And I think it's just so cool to talk about all these women that like whether it's us or others. So I'd love to hear other people, and especially, if you are a male listening to
Yeah.
this, I would love to hear who are those female artists that have impacted you or you yeah, I mean, I guess, yeah, who have impacted you? Because I
Yeah,
think
I would like to hear that too.
that's so interesting because I think, yes, we could easily say, "Oh, well, of course we said this or we said that," but, like, I think it's important
It's
that
always interesting to hear too. Like, my boyfriend Tim, he is a huge Annie Lennox fan. Like
oh, wow.
yeah, he loves them. And I was like, interesting, you know? And I'm like, that's why I'm in love with you. So it makes sense. You know what I mean? So like, I would like to hear it too. It's always interesting to hear like what are men's like absolute, you know, impactful women. I would like to know too.
Oh, for
Very
sure.
curious.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
have to know, and go Tim for that. That's an excellent choice.
Right?
That's
Yeah.
amazing, but it
Yeah.
is. But it like, as anyone can tell, these female artists have just really paved the way for us in our lives, and I know I can speak for Justine and say we would not be who we are, where we are without them. And again, yeah, please respond to us and let us know. I'd love to hear everybody's take, and I truly feel that this is the year for women in music, whether it is pop, it is rock, it is even rap, that's not really my thing, but we see it also like R&B, like we see like SZA. SZA is out there killing it in like all genres. They're just incredible. And I think that it's going to be interesting to see who is going to be that breakout of this year. Um, and if you have an idea, let us know. But we will see you guys next week. And we can't wait to air this one and for you guys to interact with us a little bit. Remember to head over to Spotify. We'll have a poll up. So try and interact with that if that's your thing, because
Yeah.
those are always fun. But we will see you guys next week. And bye, guys.
Bye.